On November 5th, 2024, Donald J. Trump was re-elected to the office of the president for his second non-consecutive term. And although not endorsing it himself, Donald Trump has appointed people to his cabinet who've relayed their support for Project 2025. Project 2025's director, Paul Dans, has stated that they're working closely with the Trump campaign. A very important part of this is the U.S. Agency for Global Media being in direct line of the White House. They say they want to prevent the spread of anti-American propaganda across all platforms and ensure that what's being reported is promoting freedom and democracy. USAGM CEO Amanda Bennett fears for the worst, claiming that a new Trump administration could put their means of existing into jeopardy.
We're really very focused on trying to move forward and to make sure that we defend and protect from any incursion the independence. That is so important, because if we lose that to any administration for any reason, we really lose our means of existing. So that's the big thing that we're all focused on.
Media Matters for America is a nonprofit whose objective is to monitor conservative media to prevent the spread of misinformation. I spoke to senior researcher at Media Matters, Andrew Lawrence, who's been with the organization for nearly a decade.
How is the Trump administration going to affect me and my job and my organization? The truth of the matter is we don't really know right now. And I think that anybody that says they do know is lying to you. I mean, I think we have to prepare for him to do all these things that they're threatening and hope that it's just bluster. I think you can look at a lot of examples of them saying that they're going to pull the licenses of any cable news station that criticizes them. I mean, that goes against what news organizations are supposed to do. They're supposed to be able to speak truth to power and stand up to powerful people. For the most powerful man in the United States government, start telling us what we are allowed to and not allowed to say is, I mean, first of all, it's terrifying. And second of all, it's a clear violation of the First Amendment. That's what I worry about more than anything, is these media outlets that start capitulating to Donald Trump in advance, that aren't offering any sort of pushback. We have a responsibility to fight back. Biggest thing is to never forget that your responsibility is to your viewer, to your audience.
When looking into this, I found it difficult to find journalists who could speak on this issue, many of them stating that they were uncomfortable touching on the topic in the current climate. This begs the question, when journalists are afraid to speak up about prevalent issues, how might that affect the journalistic integrity that's become such a cornerstone of the American free press? I interviewed a journalist here in Michigan, but they requested to remain anonymous.
Restrictions on freedom of press would definitely affect my job and what we do with a reporter and gathering a story. It would be really hard if a government agency would step in and override basically the First Amendment, being the freedom of the press, freedom of speech. It'd probably be hard to tell what news outlet or agency is reporting fact and what may not be fact. You should never just take one side and broadcast that. I mean, you should always try to get both sides. It is important to have freedom of press, just to be able to balance out the checks and balances of issues and stories, to give people, their voice, and to be able to get people to say how they feel about certain issues. It's just very important to show what people are thinking about different topics.
I'm currently sitting at the news desk of WOAK, a student news program here at Royal Oak High School. WOAK is an opportunity for students interested in broadcasting to get hands-on experience with professional-grade equipment to prepare them for the future. What that future looks like, it's anyone's guess. The executive producer of the Raven Report here at WOAK, Jordan Hills, had this to say about the course.
Well, I think it's important that students have somewhere that they can go to talk about what's important to them, and I think being able to be heard by everyone else is really important, to feel like you have a voice in what's happening in your life. This class kind of is very similar to what you would see in the real world with news, and I mean, everything is set up to let people do exactly what you would do behind the scenes at a regular news station. For any professional job, you would kind of do very similar things, where there's a director, there are people on cameras, there are people that have to go through to check the script. We have to go and find information about what's happening in our school and community, and the way that it's very similar to what you would do professionally. And so I think taking that away would really be very negative. If the voice was taken away from students, they would probably have no clue what's happening in the school ever.
A second Donald Trump term makes the future of media in the United States uncertain, but it doesn't have to be. Respect for the very principles that this country is founded upon is crucial to its success. Complete freedom of the press is absolutely necessary, and Donald Trump, as Commander-in-Chief, must make an effort to preserve it.